Today on the show, I saw blink-182. Nothing else matters right now. Welcome to 20th Century Boy. My name is Blink-180 Mike 182. That would have been better. And this is the inside of my mind. Welcome to the show. Oh man. Okay, I'm going to start with one thing. It's going to be a shorter episode, okay? Because I'm really running against the clock here. This episode comes out tomorrow. It's 1 o'clock and I'm just sitting down to record now because I went to Blink-182 last night and it was absolutely... It was the best night of my life, okay? So, welcome to the show. This is 20th Century Boy, a podcast by me, Radio Mike, a writer and producer from Melbourne, Australia, right? The conceit of this podcast, it's the conversations you wish you were having about the stuff that no one else cares about, and today I'm probably going to be predominantly talking about the Blink-182 concert at Rod Laver Arena last night, right? But I do want to talk about one other thing, right? And I'm weak. My voice is nearly gone. It's going to be definitely gone after this. But it was so worth it. And I'm like, again, it's going to probably be a shorter episode. I might be a bit scrambled this episode, guys, but I'm fucking doing it. Okay. So, give me a break. But shit, man, shit. It was sick. It was awesome. So here's what I'm going to do, right? Thankfully this morning when I woke up at 11 a.m. because I slept in so much, there was a bottle of Gatorade in my fridge. I'm going to tell you why that bottle of Gatorade was in my fridge first. Then I'm going to tell you about the Blink-182 show, right? And what I've decided is, because I'm kind of going to do 2 bits of content on Blink-182 this week, right? Because I realize not everyone who listens to TCB is necessarily a big fan, but it's still something I want to talk about. So I'm going to do, on this pod, I'm going to talk about just, the general experience of the show. And then I'm going to do, a full proper review as a Blink-182 fan, as a YouTube video and on this feed that'll probably be out tomorrow, right? So I'm going to do 2 things. So I'm just going to be kind of light on Blink-182 lore in this one, and then in the review video I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. But I hope you enjoyed it anyway. You part of this podcast is, again, it's the conversations you wish you were having about the stuff that no one else cares about. I just talk shit about shit. Last week I talked about Yu-Gi-Oh! And High School Musical, okay? Get used to it. But first thing I wanted to talk about just really quickly is I had one of my friends' 30ths on Friday. We're in the season of 30ths, right? Friday night. And it was a gnarly night because it was a high school mate, and there was a lot of people there that are friends, but friends that I don't see that much anymore. And it was just one of the gnarliest nights I've had in a long time. I'm not a massive drinker. Never really have been huge as a drinker. I've had big nights like all of us, but never been a massive drinker. And I honestly cannot remember before Friday a night where I had a legit kind of going out night where I got really drunk and kind of partied, right? Friday night was the first night in a very long time. So went to my friend's 30th and was just plying drinks down, just having so many cocktails. I'm a big cocktail boy, right? Talking to all these people from my school. It was really fun. Had an incredible night. Had so many laughs. It's always like that when you meet back up with high school people and you kind of just pick up exactly where you left off. It was just incredible. I had such a fun night, laughing, talking, drinking, everything. Anyway, the party ends at midnight, and my friend Daniel, who I actually lived with for a while, if people have been listening to this pod for a while, he probably appeared back in the Northcote days of this podcast. And essentially when we were younger, he used to work at this pub, a bar, kind of dance bar kind of thing in the city called Fad. Fad Gallery, I believe it's called. Not sure if people have been there. It's a nice bar, dancing every night. And he used to work there. And when he worked there, this is sort of, 2016, maybe 2017 through to before COVID. When he worked there, we used to go there all the time because he would just be like, hey, let's go to Fad. Because he'd be working, we'd go, he'd give us free drinks, and like all our group would just hang out at Fad most Saturday nights. Sometimes I would just go, if I had nothing on a Saturday night, I would just go to Fad and hang out with Daniel while he worked and just like talk to random people, right? It was a different time. And so Daniel was like that night, hey, we should go to Fad. And me, Daniel, my other friend from high school, Lockie, and our other friend from high school, Catherine, all went to Fad for old time's sake. And at this point, I was already drunk. And then we probably had like another 5 drinks at Fad. And this was like beyond the most I had had to drink in a very, very long time. And I don't think I've ever been that drunk, actually. Like, I was like, I couldn't even like process my thoughts, I don't think. And we were just dancing, having a really good time, swapping really good stories. It was a fantastic evening. And Fad closed at about 1. And I was like, hey guys, I think I have to go home. So I got an Uber home. One thing that I will say is my friend Lockie, who also worked at Fad, got the job from Daniel back in the day. So I forgot to mention that. He has a drink named after him at Fad. It's called the Lockie Special. So we all got a Lockie Special, right? So if you go to Fad Gallery in the city, ask them to make you a Lockie Special and they'll make it for you. And it's like, it's a legit drink that they have there, which is really, really good. And yeah, it's just called the Lockie Special, okay? So that's my first thing. If you go to Fad, ask for a Lockie Special. Second thing, I get an Uber home and I'm super wasted, and we also didn't eat much at the party, so I was really hungry. It's like 2 a.m. at this point. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm drunk. I'm Uber Eatsing Macca's right away. And so I order some nuggets from Macca's. There's no Macca's in walking distance to my place. Order some Macca's. I'm sitting there going, oh, I cannot wait for Macca's. I'm sitting on this couch that's right next to me. If you're watching the video version, I'm just sitting on the couch. And, you know, I'm waiting for my Macca's. Long time. Much longer than normal. Macca's is usually pretty good on Uber Eats, pretty quick. And, you know, it doesn't arrive. And then, no, sorry. The driver says they've picked it up. I'm like, great. I'm waiting in great anticipation for my Macca's. My Macca's never arrives. The Uber driver stole my McDonald's. To the Uber Eats driver who stole my McDonald's on the weekend at 2 a.m. when I was very, very drunk, coming off after a 30th birthday, I ordered Macca's on Uber Eats. This guy stole my food and didn't deliver it. Fuck you. You ruined my evening. It was the worst thing anyone has ever done to me. Stealing my McDonald's that I had paid for. Then I messaged Uber. Like, I went onto the Uber help thing and I'm like, hey, my food didn't arrive. The Uber driver's stolen it. And Uber was like, oh, sorry to hear about your issue. Please fill out this form. What happened? What's your complaint? Blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, please upload a photo. And I'm like, what photo do they want? There's no food. Do they want me to take a photo of like my empty stomach? Like, I don't know. I don't know what they want a photo of, right? So instead, and I was really drunk, I would not do this if I was sober, I took a selfie of me putting my middle finger up to the camera, and some poor, probably customer service rep at Uber probably got a photo of me putting my rude finger up at the camera because I didn't get my Uber Eats Macca's at 2 a.m. on a Friday night. And then I was so angry, I was like, you know what, fuck this, I'm going to bed, fuck it. And then I was really hungry, so then I ordered Hungry Jack's, and I got Hungry Jack's instead. And you know what, I was really happy with the Hungry Jack's. I ended up getting a chicken burger and some chips and a chocolate shake. It was a really good night. It was a great night, and that might have been the icing on the cake. But that Uber driver, absolute dog, right? It needs to be said. Okay. Anyway, then the next morning, I slept until 1:30 in the afternoon. Hectic. I have never felt that unwell. It was the worst hangover ever. You know how they say, like, the older you get, like because I do remember being young, having like a night out getting really drunk, waking up and being a little bit hungover, but just like having some water, and I was like, I'm better now. Right? But this is probably my first, I don't know when my last hangover was. This is my first proper hangover in many, many years. And it destroyed me. I could barely walk. I slept until 1:30. I got up. I was like, oh my God. I could barely do anything. I just wanted to eat lots of greasy food. I went to Coles and I bought 2 bottles of Gatorade because Gatorade really helps when you're hungover, right? It just rehydrates you so, so well. And I got my Gatorade, put one in the fridge and drank the other one, and then went back to bed for pretty much, I wasted my whole Saturday. And I think wasting days at 29 coming into 30, you feel it much more. You really feel that you've wasted a weekend day, right? Because you've worked all week, you go out, and then you wake up at 1:30 on a Saturday, and your whole Saturday's gone, and you're like, oh shit, I totally wasted that whole day. And now it's going to be Sunday, and then I have to work the whole week again, and then it's going to be another 5 days till Saturday. And that's crazy. Wasted the whole day. Felt bad about it. But I remember back when I was young, I used to waste days, and I didn't care. Especially when I was at uni. When I was at uni like 2 days a week, and then the rest was all just free time. Right? Oh no, I worked 2 days a week, but then I had so much time to just do nothing. And I would waste so many days. Now I hate wasting days. It's amazing how quickly things change, right? So anyway, that's why this morning when I woke up after belting my throat out at the blink-182 concert, there was a Gatorade in my fridge from that Saturday last weekend. I was like, oh, thank God. And I just chugged it, right? But other than that, pretty much the whole week was just getting excited for Blink-182 on Tuesday. And I can't believe, like, just what an experience. Had VIP tickets that we bought back in 2022, went with Whitey, who was actually a Patreon supporter of this show, and on the executive producer tier. Thank you, Whitey. Really appreciate it. And, Whitey came over. We chilled here for a bit. I was just so excited. Because, and I did this post on Insta, by the way, here's my VIP ticket, if you're watching the video, collector's edition ticket. I told this story in a short post on Instagram, but I want to tell it again here. I went to see Blink-182 in 2013. Travis Barker did not come, but Tom and Mark did. This is pre their second breakup, and I bought a t-shirt at that concert. I remember it was $50. Now they're $60. 11 years ago, they were $50. That's $10 of shirt inflation, right? I remember distinctly it being $50 because I was working at a pizza shop at the time and I earned like $12 an hour. Story for a different time. But I bought that shirt 11 years ago. Now, over the years, that shirt, it's the only article of clothing I still have from 11 years ago, right? It is tattered, crinkled, torn in places. At various points, I think there were like blood stains on it because I got a blood nose once when I was wearing it. There are a lot of stains on it. It's wrinkly and old. It's falling apart. And many, many times over the last 11 years, I have considered throwing it out. And my mum was always like, you need to throw this shirt out. It's not good. I'm like, I don't want to throw it out, right? And the reason I never wanted to throw it out was because I always hoped that one day Mark, Tom, and Travis would come to Melbourne and play a show and I could wear that shirt. And, it happened and it was awesome. Okay. Had VIP tickets and was at the front barrier. I was so close to them and I was just in awe the entire time. It was a fucking epic show. It was so energetic. It was so fun. Again, I'm going to do a proper review of it later on. That will be out tomorrow because I just want to talk sort of lightly about it on this pod because not everyone's a huge Blink fan that wants to hear everything. But Tom on fire. Mark on fire. Bouncy. Tom, just incredible energy. Travis, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable drummer. The vibe was electric. Made friends with people in line and in the crowd, and just honestly, I'm going again in seated on the 26th, but you know, this was just amazing. And here's the thing. I remember one of the first video clips, little short clips I did for this show was where I talked about live music, how I'm not a huge fan. There's a lot of standing around and waiting, being on your feet for hours and hours. And you know, I had a few experience in my like early 20s when I was like much stronger and willing to do that much more, where that was the case, right? Like I remember there's this band Churches. They're a Scottish band. They're incredible. And I saw them live a few times and I was like often the first person in line, right? And I would be right at the front. You'd watch the support acts and you'd be on your feet for a very, very long time. And then you'd be like really tired. But like, I actually think this show with Blink was like probably the most worth it time I've ever done that, because there was a lot of standing around. Getting there at 5, support act didn't come on till 7:30, and then Blink didn't come on till about 8:45. You're just on your feet the whole time. My knees were aching at the end, which was just crazy. Like, I was so sore at the end of this show. My throat was sore, my knees were sore, my legs were sore, my arms were, everything was sore. But I don't know if I'll ever do that again, because I'm only getting older, right? I don't know if I'll ever buy VIP tickets and wait around on my feet for 4 hours to be in the front row of a band. So I actually think this might be a pinnacle and peak point of my life that I might not do again. I genuinely don't know if I'd be willing to do it again. Maybe for Blink if they come again in 3 to 5 years. But yeah, genuinely, I don't know if I'll ever get that experience again. And I really tried to soak it in a few times, right? Just like actually just be like, wow, I can't believe what I'm seeing. And just so incredible. There were various points, probably 2 or 3 points where Mark actually made eye contact with me, which I can't believe happened. Unbelievable. And I recorded because I just, you know, I love the band so much. I wanted to like listen back to some of the performances. Of course, one of their final few songs was All the Small Things, which you'd probably expect, and they just blended into it so well from whatever the track was before. And obviously, that's probably their biggest mainstream hit. So the crowd went off for it. But I did notice like most people on the outskirts were standing and everything as well. Here's a bit of All the Small Things. Just so good, and just incredible, honestly. Then Feeling This, of course. I just like Feeling This, you know, is probably one of my favorite songs of all time. So seeing it live is just incredible. Like, go and listen to that song. It's just so good. There is so much that happens in that song, and seeing it live was just such an amazing moment. And of course I saw it live 11 years ago, but I mean, this concert was leagues better than the one 11 years ago at Sydney Myer Music Bowl, which was, I was in like the back mosh and I had to jump just to see them. I remember having to jump up to catch a glimpse of like a 480p Tom DeLonge from so far away. There was basically like 480p. From there, so many good moments. I mean, Rock Show was the second song. And probably, I mean, one of the best would have to have been I Miss You. I mean, everyone got around I Miss You. The whole stadium got around I Miss You.
Are you? Am I so sorry? I can't sleep, can't drink tonight.
And then the "Don't waste your time on me." So good. I'm still honestly processing it. And then they played a bunch of the new songs and songs that I hadn't heard live before. Anthem Part 3 is a great new Blink song that is really powerful. And, you know, when it came out, I was like, oh, this song is about the band. And just before they played it, Mark said, this song's about us. And then they started playing it. Incredible. And in this song, Mark made eye contact with me at the start. I've got it on video because I think he saw me singing. And because it's a new song. I mean, not everyone knew the words to all the new songs, but I thought a lot of people were singing back to them for the new songs, but like obviously not everyone knows them. But Anthem Part 3. That's me singing, by the way. I swear to God I was the loudest person. And then Edging, which was my top track on Spotify last year, which was incredible. That one was fucking sick live. That's me again, by the way. I was front, middle, like, right in the front of the barrier, right? And one of my mate, I'm sure he won't care about me saying this, but like a mate who I just met, sort of, I think he knew a bunch of my stuff, and then I met him I think I met him outside the Corner Hotel because he saw me and he was like, "Hey, Mike, I know your stuff." His name's James. He got there at 9:30 a.m. to line up, and he was like front, middle, but like, I got there at 5 o'clock and I wasn't like that much further away from the middle as him. And he said that to me like, oh, you know, you got a great spot. And I was like, yeah, it was awesome. So yeah. Bored to Death, which was actually a song that when Tom wasn't in the band, they wrote with Matt Skiba, but Tom absolutely owns it. I'll talk more about that in the review, but that was an incredible one to hear live because this song meant a lot to me because, like, I thought Blink was done when Tom left, but then they put out a new album with Matt Skiba, which was different, but it, to me, meant the band was still alive. And so many people got around Bored to Death as well, which I really, really liked. And then Turpentine, which is another new song that was just ace. That went down really well. And of course, Up All Night, which was the first single they put out after their first breakup, when they came back with an album called Neighborhoods in like 2011, they put out Up All Night. I still remember where I was when I first heard Up All Night, and it was like the Blink-182 comeback single. I was at my friend Lars from high school's house, who also loved Blink-182, and we were making a Facebook event for his 16th birthday party. This is how long ago it was, because I'm nearly 30, so it was so fucking long ago. We're making a Facebook event, which he would do back then, for his 16th, being like, who should we invite? It was his party. I don't know why I was involved in that decision. And then it just, like, I think it just, this was even before like, everyone was on, like, Twitter, or even, like, internet being widely available on phones. Like, I definitely didn't even have an iPhone. But I think I don't know how I found out. I think I just, maybe we were just on like Reddit or I don't know where, but it was just like Blink-182's first new single out now. And we just clicked on it and we were like, oh my God. And we heard it and listened to it. And then we both I think we both looked at each other at first with like some level of like, what do you what do you think? And then we were both just like, I fucking love it, play it again. And we played it again. And then they finished with One More Time, which was a slow, pretty way to finish.
I miss you. It took time, but I admit I still hurt even after all these years. And I know that this time ain't always gonna happen. I gotta say I love you while we're here.
And on an emotional level for me, I genuinely, that was just one of the most important nights of my life. It was right at the front. I couldn't believe it. I had such an amazing time. I've got way more to talk about. But yeah, it was just a beautiful, beautiful night. And I was just talking to people in the crowd next to me, made friends, talking about the band, talking about other bands we like. And I thrive so much on that human connection of just find one thing I have in common with someone and we just I can just talk to them about it forever. If someone can meet me on my level of being nerdy about shit, you've become my new best friend, right? And the other thing was at one point of the show, I was on the big screen, the Jumbotron behind the band. They filmed the audience and I didn't realize it till the last moment. And then I quickly whipped my phone out to get a pic of it. Right. And apparently I was on there for 15 seconds and friend of the show and friend of me, Luke Kidgel, and a bunch of his mates, I think Reese, who's a producer for him, and Meg, his partner and podcast buddy, they were there, but they weren't with us. And they saw me on the big screen. Actually, I might try and call Luke. I spoke to him last night after the gig, but I might try and call him because he had some funny stuff to say about it. Hopefully, let's see if he picks up.
Hello?
Hey, Luke. Sorry. How are you?
What's up? I'm well. How are you?
Sorry, it's Mike. I'm doing my podcast, and I was talking about the Blink show. I just wondered if you have 2 minutes to chat.
Mate, I'm at Coles, but I'd love to.
Oh, Coles is perfect. I found it really funny, the stuff you were saying last night about me being on the Jumbotron, and I wanted to hear hear you say that stuff again for the listeners.
Oh, dude, it was so funny. So during Dance With Me, they start panning across the crowd, and the first person I see on the big screen is Mike. It was his face is just beaming with excitement, and he is so blissfully unaware that there's 15,000 people staring at him, right? And me and Reese turn around and go, holy shit, it's Mike. And we start pointing at the screen. And then as we're pointing at the screen, I hear from 3 rows behind me, these random just go, is that Radio Mike? And then Mike finally realizes he's on the screen and then immediately stops living in the moment and reaches for his phone to take a photo.
So how long was I on the screen for before I noticed? Because at
least 5 seconds, but it felt like a year.
Yeah, because
it was
I feel because I was obviously I was at the front, and then I feel everyone around me was screaming oh my God, we're on the big screen. And I was looking and I couldn't see me. So I was oh, it must be somewhere else. So then I just started enjoying the band again. And then I realized, then I could see me and I quickly got my phone out to take a picture.
It was so funny. Just watching the thought process of instead of this being a memory, you're no, it needs to be on my Instagram.
So did you oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Just getting to watch it from 80 rows back was really something special. Because I knew you were at the show, but I obviously hadn't seen you there.
Yeah.
And then I was oh, good to know Mark made it.
And you guys were just all losing your shit without me knowing.
It was probably, I was seeing my favorite ever band for the last 15 years, and you being on the screen was the highlight of my evening.
Oh man, did you? And like, I assume you really enjoyed the show. It was a special night, hey.
Oh man, it was the best. I had such a good time. Like, I think I was just staring at Tom DeLonge. You know, I forgot that Travis Barker was there. I felt awful because he's my favorite ever drummer. But I was just staring at Tom DeLonge for like 3 songs, and then Violence came on. He does that big solo, and I was like, "Oh fuck yeah, Travis Barker's here. That's awesome."
Oh man, Travis though, like like, I know this sounds stupid and obvious, but fuck, he's such a good drummer. It's insane.
It's so good.
Yeah,
and they were very funny, and I thought they were very charismatic. And not only that, they sounded good.
Oh, they sounded the best I've ever heard them sound. It was...
Yeah.
Hey, you know, like 5 years ago, we did a pop punk special on your podcast where we just talked about pop punk for like 2.5 hours. We should I
got a message from a guy last night. I put on my story that I was at the show, and some guy was like, man, because I was like, oh, sorry for posting about this, blah, blah, blah. I will never do it again, but I had a great time. Some guy was like, dude, I literally know you from that one podcast of you and Radio Mike talking about pop punk, and then I followed your comedy for 6 years.
Are you serious?
Yeah, some guy messaged me that. How awesome is that?
Would you do a follow-up with me? We should do a sequel.
Of course.
Yeah, if you're not busy. We'll plan it off air, but like, we should do one.
Oh, mate.
Well, thanks for taking the time to be on the pod. I think people will really love hearing from you.
Oh, mate, I've loved hearing from you, and you know, let me know next time you're at a Jumbotron, because it really brought me so much joy.
Do you have any shows coming up just to plug? Like, I mean, the audience on this show isn't big, but if you want to plug anything, plug it.
I'm coming to doing Luke and Friends in some of the capital cities around Australia. I think there's still tickets available in Brisbane and
sick.
Sydney, so get on down.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, man.
And also, I'm hoping to be on a big screen somewhere soon, but I don't know when. I'll let Mike know if it happens.
Thanks, mate. Love ya.
Mate, love you too. Have a good one.
See you, man.
Bye.
All right, I really wanted to get Luke on because I did think that was really funny. But the other thing that was awesome, like just for me, and I guess my fragile ego, is like, after it happened, I just started getting all these messages on Instagram being like, Mike, I just saw you on the Jumbotron. I just saw you on the big screen, man. Fucking love it. Man, you look like you're having the best time. Like, all these people that were at the show, you know, who follow me on Insta or don't follow me on Insta were like, yeah. And even like, there was a guy like in front of me, and he turned around, he's like, oh, you're Mike. Like, I know your voice. Like, so cool to see you here. And I was just chatting to him. And then at the end of the show, this guy came up to me and was like, oh, Mike, I love your stuff. I love your Potter Puppet Pals thing, which I assume he was talking about Harry Potter and the Boys, which is not called Potter Puppet Pals, but appreciated him anyway. And then met up with another friend after the show who I'll do a quick shout out to as well, May, who is a fan of this pod, but I'm a fan of her pod. And again, I said I'm a nerdy dude. Me and May have been online friends for a really long time because they are like one of the biggest Digimon fans in Australia, or probably in the world, to be honest. And if you've listened to this show for a while, you know I'm obsessed with like weeby old anime, and I just get obsessed with old stuff I used to watch, and Digimon was like one of these things I'm super obsessed with, right? I just, for some reason, never grew out of liking it. And May, shout out to May, who they have a YouTube channel and podcast all on like Digimon content, and I always watched it. And then May randomly started listening to my pod, and then I was like, hey, I'm a big fan of your stuff. And they were like, really? I'm like, yeah. Finally met for the first time after the Blink show yesterday, which was awesome. So it was just like, it was the best night ever. It was the fucking best night ever. I don't care. Yeah. I'm going to do more content on this, and I think the review might come before this episode, but anyway, it's, I don't know. I don't know. My thoughts are really flustered at the moment. It was awesome. 35 minutes, that's a good length, and sorry this one's shorter. I'm genuinely running out of time because I slept in till 10:30 after the show, but yeah, to anyone who went or is going, like, I hope you have a fucking incredible time. I know I did. And like Blink-182 Life for Life, I love it. And actually, I'll end with this. Right? This isn't like having a go at anyone, but I remember being at high school and I loved Blink, and they put out their new album Neighborhoods in 2011. And this story, I can trace a line back to why I wanted to do this podcast, okay? So hear me out. And this applies to anything that you like, that anyone you know's likes, right? I went up to like a guy from school. We were just chatting. He was a mate. And I was like, I've been listening to the new Blink-182 album. Have you listened to it? And he looked at me and he said, no, who the hell listens to Blink-182? And in that moment, I just felt like a loser. And I carried that like weird shame with me around for so long, that like the stuff I like and the things that I like and the things that I like to do and the music I like, whatever it is bad or lame or flawed in some way. And as I grew up and I came on the other side of this and I started doing this show 5 years ago, and people started connecting with me, right? You, the listener, anyone, started connecting with me and being like, dude, I love that you talk about whatever it might be. I love your pod. You talk about stuff. I'm the same. I do the same things. I like the same things. And the more, again, I've said this before, but the more honest with myself I was about who I am and what I like, the more authentic I would be about myself. The more, one, the happier I was, and two, the more I felt like I was connecting with other human beings, right? The more I felt as though I was connecting with you guys, I was connecting with people, and I could be open about whatever and know I wouldn't be judged, right? And that, I think, is like the same respect you should give out to everyone, no matter what it is that they like. Just be like, that's cool. I want to know more about that, right? And that's what this podcast is. It's the conversations you wish you were having about the stuff that no one else cares about, right? This podcast will always be, that I draw a line back to that conversation where I was like, well, why did he say that to me, right? That's not a stab at anyone, right? I completely get why people, I don't know. I'm just trying to say, the more authentic you are to yourself, the happier you will be, and the more fulfilled you will feel, and the more you will connect with other human beings. And that is a really special part about being alive. So, without further ado, with no ado, because that's not relevant, that's going to be the end of this week's pod. Thank you for listening, as always. If you've been here since the start, thanks. If this is your first step, thanks as well. My name's Radio Mike. This has been The Inside of My Mind. See you later.